100 degrees. Today in New York it's supposed to be 100 degrees, making it the hottest day in the city in 13 years. It's type of weather. And though temperatures like that would make most cities grind to a halt, today's election day, and New York never slows down anyways, so I knew the city would be as bustling as ever. Or mostly as bustling as ever. So what do you get when you combine 8 million people, not to mention like an extra million tourists, with 3-digit temperatures? Well, a lot of warm people of course. But more specifically, a lot of people trying to cool down. A lot of people who, though not scared of the heat, won't shy away from loitering in the air-conditioned Target entrance for a minute or two. Which got me thinking, what are the best ways to cool off in the city? What's the best way for me to feel like this? Assuming I've left the serendipity of my apartment's AC. So I decided to spend all day testing New York's various cooling methods to determine the best way that you, yes you, can cool off next time you are here. I know, so brave, hold your applause. I'm just a modest guy who wants to do something for the common good. This quest for cool ended up taking me all around the city, on countless trains uptown and downtown, and into countless delis surge pricing water. But I avoided heat stroke and survived, hell, maybe even thrived, thanks to some, although not all, of the cooling methods I tried. So without further ado, this is How to Stay Cool on New York City's hottest day. I decided to start the day by getting hot. Doesn't just being outside make you hot? Well, yes, but in order to test New York's finest cooling methods, I had to be hot. So, naturally, I started my day by biking from Union Square to Bryant Park. I finally reached Midtown, where I waited for a spot to open up at the City Bike dock. Side note, have you ever seen an abandoned, undocked e-bike? That's how I knew I was in Midtown. Anyways, I made my way to Bryant Park, which is home to the main branch of the New York Public Library. Though it's usually a wonderfully historic building, today was something much more important. A NYC sanctioned cooling center, legally obligated to let New Yorkers seek refuge when temperatures are 95 degrees or higher for 2 or more days, or 100 degrees. I entered the building, now with a good sweat, and basically just walked around for an hour, taking in the beautiful sights and the even more beautiful AC. Though I didn't see anything officially deeming it a cooling center beyond the NYC 311 map, it definitely fulfilled its purpose. So much so that I wasn't even mad that I couldn't go into the famous reading room, as I was there for the temperature, not for the aesthetics. I explored the frigid halls for a bit longer, reflecting on how this is certainly the most grandiose cooling center. All cool is cool, but cool isn't always cool, if you know what I mean. On the cooling tier list, which I guess I'm doing now, I place NYC cooling centers as a B. They do the job. Anyways, it was only getting hotter out, so I exited the library, ready to explore my next cooling option. So this is me stopping my walk to the subway, realizing that an unplanned, underrated way to cool down was right in front of me. McDonald's Sprite. The holy grail of drinks. Electrifying, inebriating, and most importantly, refreshing. And refreshing it was, especially with the side of fries. I don't know how I'd compare a beverage to more typical cooling options, but I do know that compared to other drinks, including even water, McDonald's Sprite is the best way to cool down. Just something to note if you're ever in a pinch. Hell, might as well put it on the tier list. A. The library and the Sprite had me feeling maybe a little too cool, so I walked a couple blocks to the subway to build up a sweat. There I relished in the breeze of a passing train, and then caught the F line up to 57th Street. It was now time to test out my favorite, in theory, way to cool down. Green spaces, or specifically in this case, Central Park. Parks feel much cooler than city streets because the greenery reduces the ambient heat that otherwise reflects off concrete and asphalt. Which is why I was really excited to enter the park, already one of my favorite places in the city. I made my way to the most shaded area I know, the Hallett Nature Sanctuary, and boy, did it not disappoint. It really is true that spending time amongst the trees and the animals is good for the soul, and my developing case of heat stroke. Green spaces get a big ol' S on the tier list. As I grabbed my second drink of the day and got reacquainted with the heat, visions of the Central Park bird baths danced through my head. They look so free. They look so chill. They look so cool. I knew what I needed to do. I had to find a pool. So I did some Googling, found one in the Lower East Side, and hopped back on the train headed downtown. I got off at Delancey and started walking the half mile or so to Hamilton Fish Pool. It was now 99 out, and I could feel it. Already committed to swimming in my jorts, I excitedly crisscrossed through the streets, getting hotter with each passing minute. Would I cannonball, or would I swan dive? That was the question. After shaving some time with a city bike, I pulled up to the glorious public pool. I was ready to get my vintage New York summer on. I was ready to swim till my heart's content. I was ready to be disappointed. Public pools don't open until after the hottest day of the year. I sat down, somewhat dejected, but mostly just overwhelmingly hot. I was so close, but so far. I could almost envision the pool a week from now, at max capacity, full of New Yorkers blissfully unaware of my tribulations a week prior. In a haze, I left the park, mentally gave it an F on the tier list, and prayed for coolness at the altar. Okay, I'm playing it up for the bit, but still, I was pretty damn hot. I needed something, anything, to save the day, like Central Park had earlier. To my surprise, my prayers were answered immediately as I ran into the most stereotypical New York summer thing ever. Though I had always dreamed of being a kid running through the streams of a broken fire hydrant, reality was much more underwhelming. Instead of this, all I could do was stare at the poop-tinged water flowing through the streets. This wasn't like the movies at all. Another F, or maybe D, because I was kind of doing it wrong. Luckily, I had a good idea on how to actually escape the heat. The tried and true, ice cream. Or in this case, strawberry and Fuji apple gelato from Il Laboratorio del Gelato. I shared in the beautiful AC with my furry friend, and then took the half-melted gelato to the park, where I watched some hoopers brave the elements. I'm not gonna say this gelato is bad, cause it wasn't, but it definitely wasn't good, and certainly did little to cool me off. Maybe it was a dumb idea anyways, but C on the tier list. At this point I was far removed from the chilliness of the morning. I'd struck out on my last 3 cooling options, so I decided to throw myself a curveball by doing the coolest thing of all, shopping in Soho. That's right. As I made my way south, grabbing my 4th drink of the day, I relished in my ingenuity. If you can't get cool, be cool. I'm a genius. So where to go? Where to shop? I canvassed the scenic streets, finally deciding to enter Uniqlo. What's cooler than fast fashion? I chilled in the store for a good while, relishing in the AC and reasonably priced menswear. Though I didn't feel particularly cool, loitering in a Uniqlo at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, I was, well, cool. Soho gets a solid A on the tier list. The AC, especially the air blowing in the entrance, got me thinking. Maybe I could escape the heat by finding the breeziest place in New York. One Google later, I learned that the corner of Court and Montague is considered the windiest place in the city. So I hopped on the train, headed towards Brooklyn. This is where my rankings might get controversial, as I will include the subway here as a beautiful A tier. The trains in New York, for all their flaws, have a really nice AC going on in the summer. So much so that I, tired and hot, missed my stop in Brooklyn, as I was perfectly content with soaking in the climate-controlled goodness.
Eu possuo apenas o que Deus me deu.
Anyways, I finally fell out of my frigid stupor and crisscrossed through downtown Brooklyn to Court and Montague. Was it windy? Yes, I guess, but it was a hot wind, if that makes sense. The pavement of the intersection was still cooking me, and now it being officially 100 degrees out, I laughed at my naivety. Let me cool off by catching a breeze when it feels like 115 out. Give me a break. D tier. Luckily though, the nearby ice cream truck redeemed my journey. To save the day, I knew I needed some good old-fashioned American soft serve. None of that fancy gelato Fuji hibiscus apple shit. No, soft serve, as God intended for summer. I chilled on a nearby bench, contemplating my journey so far, taking my time with the rapidly melting delicacy. Ice cream gets moved up a spot. he deserves it. This brings me to my wild card. If you can't catch a breeze, buy a breeze. That's right. All day I've seen people with personal fans, sometimes even with misters. In a fit of envy and jealousy, I decided I must have one for myself. So I set off back to Midtown, where I thought I'd have my best luck finding a fan. I first tried a NYC souvenir store, thinking they'd surely be upselling fans to weary tourists. But no. I then tried a Walgreens, as Google said they also had them. Also, no. Okay, surely Target, right? Fine, I'll try it as a last resort. Five Below. Come on, it's literally called Five Below. Having failed at finding a fan, I realized I could only blame myself. People with fans were simply better than me. They came prepared for the heat. They didn't leave it up to retail luck. As such, I'll go ahead and compromise by giving personal fans a C. If I can't buy a breeze though, I realized, why not make it myself? Some of my coolest moments all day were when I electric city biked, assuming I got to a decent speed. So I picked up a bike at Port Authority and made my way to Central Park, where I knew I could get some good speed. My genius plan, as expected, worked. Not only was Central Park naturally cooler, as mentioned earlier, but the breeze felt absolutely lovely. Biking gets a B. After biking to my heart's content, I grabbed another water and sat down, silhouetted by the setting sun. As I rested and the sun sank lower and lower, I finally started to cool down. It was now only 93, which, though hot, felt sublime after a day of triple digits. I made my way through the oddly deserted park, soaking in the cool evening air, reflecting on the heat of the day. Though this entire video has been an attack on the heat, I actually like it when it's hot. Well, maybe not this hot, but still, hot. For one, and I know it's a hot take, but I kinda like it when it's sauna-like outside. But on a more spiritual level, I think the heat always reminds me of my childhood in Florida. Growing up in a hot state, being able to play outside year-round, getting heat stroke shooting hoops with my friends, endless summer days outside, these are the reasons why I'm nostalgic for warm weather. Summer's my favorite season for a reason. I guess then, if I'm gonna get sentimental here, being from Florida should probably go on the cooling tier list as an A. As it got dark, I found little nooks and crannies here and there in the park to relax. The warm summer air smelt, for the first time today, not totally awful, and the birds, ever loud, provided a melodic song for my enjoyment. This was, without a doubt, the best part of the day. Lying there, in the grass, felt so damn good, like when you crawl into your bed after an exhausting day. I was tired, I was happy, and above all, I was cool. Naturally, waiting for it to get dark and relaxing in an open field in the most famous park in the world gets a big ol' S on the tier list. So there it is. How to stay cool when it's not cool. I hope my heat stroke exploits can be helpful to somebody someday in this great city. Or, maybe just stay inside when it's 100 fucking degrees out. You do you.